Camp YA campers, it's me, Scarlett Cole. I'm a young adult author here from the glorious country of Canada. I am so excited to be joining you all. I brought my camper hat, my camper shirt, some marshmallows, a roasting stick, and of course, a flashlight for all of those spooky stories late at night. But I'm here to tell you a spooky story as well. So, if you haven't heard of Sleepless, here's the cover here, and this is what it's going to look like, which I'm very excited about. And if you want to know more about that story, this is the blurb for Sleepless. When night falls, all hell breaks loose. Senior year was supposed to be the best year of Berkeley's life, until it turned into a nightmare. Parental problems, boyfriend issues, college, volleyball, and an unwanted study in Shakespeare have her so stressed she can't sleep. But when her insomnia leads her to cross paths with some amateur witches, she'll wish she stayed in bed. Now, not only are her nights a blur, but her waking hours keep getting hazier when strange things start happening around her. Dark, sinister things that all point to Berkeley, except she can't remember any of them. Desperate to gain control of her own life, she searches for an explanation to her sudden nighttime amnesia. But the answer will drag Berkeley and her friends into a dangerous world of magic and mayhem, one where she may never wake up. So hopefully you're interested in that story, because I'm going to read the first chapter of Sleepless tonight. So here we go. 1561, 1562, 1563. Pressing my pillow over my face, I muttered more unintelligible sounds. The images of the day cycled through my consciousness as brilliant and lively as when I tried to go to bed 3 hours ago. Bright flashes of faces and colors twirling on an anxiety-fueled carousel, each one another box on my never-ending list of things to worry about. Why couldn't my brain shut off for even 5 minutes and let me panic about them tomorrow? Long enough to maybe, possibly, close my eyes and get a moment's rest. Please, just give me one night. As I chucked the pillow to the floor, I stared up at the tiny peaks of the popcorn ceiling above me. The only thing more frustrating than being unable to sleep was lying awake thinking about how terribly school would drag if I didn't get any. I rolled my head toward my nightstand and tapped my phone screen. Already 1:15. Looked like another zombie day for me tomorrow. The third one this week. Closing my eyes, I tried to recollect the relaxation techniques from that lame yoga instructor Lane dragged me to last summer. She spent the whole time sitting on her chair bellowing instructions while she scrolled on her cell phone, but I vaguely remembered her saying something about thinking about your breathing. Be one with your breath, maybe? Whatever it was, I'd try anything. I inhaled deep until my lungs burned and my chest swelled like an overinflated balloon. Exhale. Air flowed out of my body and a calm tingle prickled through my limbs. My fingers stretched out from my clenched fist and sunk into the mattress. Maybe this wouldn't be so bad. My covers rose as I breathed in again, and my brain waded in the stream of lightheaded dizziness that followed. Exhale. My heart slowed its banging against my ribs. Maybe that class wasn't a waste of time after all. Maybe I needed to let Lane control more of my life. Inhale. Maybe I could convince Dad to sign up for yoga. Get him to relax a bit too. Exhale. But that meant he'd have to stop drinking long enough to make it through a full hour. Inhale. He'd probably just laugh it off or go into one of his self-deprecating rants that I didn't want to listen to. And it wasn't my responsibility to take care of him. Wasn't he supposed to be the adult? I needed to deal with my own problems, not like he'd ever notice anyway. Exhale. The scholarship panel. Inhale. The state volleyball finals. Exhale. Stupid Josh and his stupid plans. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Ah! I threw the covers off my body and dangled my feet off the edge of the bed. My head gripped tight in my hands. What was wrong with me? I couldn't even relax properly. Tears welled in the corners of my eyes, but I pushed them down. A familiar heaviness crept into my chest and tugged at the hollow deep inside. If I could just talk to Mom, she'd know exactly what to do. She always did. I shouldn't still miss her, but I couldn't stop. A knotted ball built in my throat as I struggled to push the painful memories from my mind. The smell of her rose-scented shampoo was still flooding my senses and refusing to let go. I swallowed and pressed my fingertips into my scalp until it all subsided, a roaring wave rescinding back into the ocean after crashing on the shores of my near-delirious mind. I peeked between my fingers into the darkness. A slit of blue moonlight cut across the floor, silent and still. It seemed to stare up at me, like it couldn't understand why I was sitting there so sad. A strange companion, but at least I wasn't the only one awake. I could always rely on the moon. Pushing myself off the bed, I sunk my toes into the scratchy carpet and followed the line of light to the window. The cool night air fell off the glass as I pulled back the thick cranberry curtain. Goosebumps spread across my bare arms and I hugged them to my chest. The moon hung close tonight, big and full. It cast a glow over the tops of the evergreens and splintered into shards through the massive thick branches before it touched the ground. Pieces of light dotted the ground like fallen stars, plucked from the sky and discarded. Some stranger's wishes never coming true. My shoulders dropped as the tension in my muscles flowed out onto the floor, and my eyes started to droop as I gazed out into the night. I sighed, and my warm breath made a foggy circle on the window pane. I drew a happy face with my finger, but it didn't cheer me up. If I ever got through all this stuff on my brain, I needed to take a whole day off just to sleep. Maybe, if I could get to Thanksgiving, everything would be okay. Just 1 month. I could handle that. As if agreeing with my plan, my mouth dropped open into a wide yawn. Finally. I started pulling the curtain back into place, but my hand stopped midway. Orange light flashed just behind the backyard gate. I wiped away the smiling face and leaned closer to the window, but the light disappeared. I must be tired. Now I'd started seeing things. I blinked and tugged at the curtain again. Another flicker flashed in the distance. I rubbed my eyes with the back of my hand. Then the flicker came again, an orange flare blazing out in the dark, bigger and brighter than before. It stayed this time, growing more intense as I stared at it. Crap, it's a brush fire! I grabbed a sweatshirt and my phone and bolted out of my bedroom. It was probably those junior high bad boy wannabes from up the street, always egging houses and knocking over mailboxes, or just lurking on the side of the street pretending to be little gangsters. Last time, one of them lit a fire in the backwoods and almost took out the whole neighborhood. From the kitchen pantry, I pulled the fire extinguisher, then slid out the patio door and across the back lawn. A cool fall breeze zapped the last of my growing drowsiness and shocked me awake. Great, these little punks better run. Through the slats of the fence, the fire seemed to disappear, but it still danced amber and tangerine against the treetops. I struggled to dial 911 on my phone as I yanked back the gate and rushed into the woods. Fire extinguisher balanced in my other hand, ready to strike. "Hello," said a chipper voice at the end of the line. "Hi, I'd like to report. You've reached the Leith, Illinois Emergency Dispatch Center. If this is an emergency, please stay on the line and an operator will be with you shortly. If not, please hang up and call our non-emergency service number during the hours of 8 to 5, Monday to Friday." The line clicked and a too loud piano cover of Für Elise assaulted my eardrums. My head jerked and the phone nearly slid down my shoulder, but I managed to keep it from falling in the dark. Only 12,000 people even lived in this town. How could there be enough emergencies that all lines were full? I stumbled on the uneven ground but managed not to trip. I'd played it back here enough times to follow the pathways lit only by the dim light of my cell phone, but not being able to see my feet still presented a challenge. The piano lulled, then burst into another song as I neared a clearing by the creek. I skidded to a stop. Flames shimmied in the wind all around the clearing. Fat red and gold candles ran around the edges of the tree line in a perfect circle. What the hell? I crept closer. More candles burned in the middle of the circle. I stepped over the fiery line and knelt near a basket of marigolds. Picture frames of what looked like tarot cards sat among misshapen gourds and pine cones. Was this someone's idea of a joke? I slipped my fingers around the red blanket under the collection of random garbage. Soft and silky. Too luxurious to be sitting on a forest floor. Stolen goods, maybe? But why all the candles? A chill crept up my back and I rose to my feet. I pulled the phone away from my ear and hung up. "I don't know who's out here, but I've already called the cops and they're on their way." No response. Just the whisper of the water flowing against the rocks in the creek. "I mean it, don't mess with me. You've got about 1 minute to get out of here before they show up." Silence. I bent over and blew out the center candles. If they fell over, this whole place would go up in an inferno. I followed around the circumference of the circle, quenching the candles one after the other. The creepy tarot cards watched me in their cheap gold frames. I couldn't see them in the dark, but the weight of stairs sat heavy between my shoulders. I shivered and shook my head. It had to be the cards. As each flame died, it plunged me deeper into the darkness, but also brought me closer to getting back to my bed so I could stare at the ceiling for a few more hours before school. I turned the last corner of the circle. The wind blew harder against my skin, cold, wintry. Leaves rustled from the bushes behind me. I spun around. "You'd better get the hell out of here. The cops will be here any second," I yelled into the emptiness as I pulled my phone out of my hoodie. The bushes rustled again. "I'm serious." I tried to dial the emergency line again, but struggled against my trembling fingers. Voices echoed off the trees and the hurried crunch of footsteps headed away from the clearing. My eyes narrowed as if squinting would help my sight against the darkness, but only inky shadows raced up the creek bed toward the street. I backed away, my fingers still positioned on the send button. Looks like I'd scared them off, whoever they were. My legs quivered, ready to run, but my brain screamed to not leave the candles burning. A disaster waiting to happen that would be all my fault if I walked or ran away. Besides, it was probably just some punk kids. It had to be. Although my racing pulse tried to convince me otherwise. But what were they doing? The wind whistled again, and the remaining flames shimmied in the eerie rhythm. Inhale, it's just the wind. Exhale. I leaned over to blow out another candle and froze. A bright green light wavered ahead of me in the dark. Too green for a flashlight, too bright for a cell phone, and headed straight toward me. Standing stick straight, I grasped the fire extinguisher tighter. "Who's there? I'm not afraid of you," I called out, my legs shaking in contradiction. The light stopped. It rose higher, then dropped to the ground, taking my stare with it. Finally, it hovered for a few seconds before speeding straight at me. I backed up, tripping over the candles and dropped my phone. The light zoomed closer, faster, brighter. My ankles burned from the flames at my feet. My heart smashed against my chest. The light kept coming. "Get away from me!" I pulled the pin from the fire extinguisher, then pressed the lever, aiming at the light. White smoke billowed around me. The light grew brighter. I dropped the canister and ran. The light swooped past and came at me from the other direction. I screamed. The light expanded in a feverish glow, then collapsed and rammed into my stomach. I fell to my knees, gasping and choking for air. Trees and moonlight swayed back and forth as the world moved in and out of focus. I lurched forward, my hands in the dirt. The flames from the remaining candles rose like hazy pyres into the sky, taller, brighter. My head slammed into the ground and the musty smell of damp leaves seeped into my nose. The taste of copper exploded on my tongue. Then everything fell away, except for a bright green light, fading into the black. All right, so that is the first chapter of my brand new book, Sleepless, that is coming out in August of 2020. So if you are interested, then check it out. So have a great time at camp and don't be too scared by the things that go bump in the night. Thanks, everybody.